Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good afternoon. Good morning and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope the show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. We got some things we have got to get into. There's some breaking news. I talked about it in the previous live, but there's going to be a press conference here in just a little bit revolving around this situation. This is just very, very interesting. And obviously, the plot continues to thicken. I have so many questions about this. I have so many questions that I'm wondering what's the story here, right? I'm wondering what the story is. But, you know, we're going to get into it, and there's going to be a press conference, and hopefully they're going to explain everything very soon on exactly what's going on here and why this is going on the way it's going on and why it took so damn long. Let's be real. It's been years, guys. So this is very interesting. But before we get into everything, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, make sure you hit that follow button, okay? Follow, please and thank you. Make sure you're subscribed here on my main channel, right here on YouTube. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Go to my third channel, Pascal Raw. Subscribe to those channels as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. And another thing, let's not forget, hit that notification bell down below. Turn it on so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it's random. Let's just be real. It's very random. All righty then, we got to get into some things. Guys. We have a lot to talk about. This is some very interesting stuff that's coming out. Now, we just talked about this while we were watching the Brian Walsh case, but I'm going to pull this up again so that you guys can see this for yourselves as well. And this is pretty shocking stuff, if you ask me. All right. But we do have some breaking news, and we're about to hopefully hear and understand exactly what's going on here. The January 6th pipe assailant, because you can't really use the BOMB word very often, okay, has been arrested, y'all. Now, what's interesting is some reports are naming his name. Like his name is Brian Cole, okay? But then there's some other places that are still just kind of breaking the news, saying like, we're waiting to hear the name of the guy. They haven't released the name of this guy, but the news, you know, there's other sources right now that are media sources that are now saying Brian Cole is the guy that has been arrested. His home, as we speak, is being raided right now as we speak as well, which is absolutely knuckin' futz as well. All right. But when it comes to this whole thing, this is massive. And hopefully by arresting and detaining this guy, and if he really is the guy, you got to remember, this is multiple years. This isn't just like, you know, last January. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, this is years ago that this happened. And they finally got the guy. Now, if they really got the guy, I'm hoping that they explain or they get him to start talking. First off, for those of y'all that some of y'all like, is it a female? No, it's a male. Maybe it was a male with a very feminine walk. I don't know. Okay, but what I do know is that his name is Brian Cole. He apparently is an anarchist. Okay. And he is being accused of being the one planting these devices, okay, outside of the RNC headquarters and the DNC headquarters, both of them. So, of course, Instantly, when people say him getting arrested, Brian Cole, they want to dive in and wonder, is he a damn leftist? Is he one of those radical leftists? Or is he some crazy conservative, right? Well, sounds like he just wanted anarchy for the sake of anarchy. He wanted chaos for the sake of chaos, and maybe he wasn't on anybody's side. Let's not forget, he put a boom device, at both headquarters, not just one of them. That says a lot. Now, question I would like to have answered, aside from why did you put down devices at these particular locations? Why? I would want him to also explain to me as well, if I was 5-0, I'd be demanding him to tell us if there's a connection to what happened the very next day. Let's not forget what happened the very next day, guys. We talked about that ad nauseum, by the way. J6, all right? The day that a lot of people would not like to talk about ever again. The day that a lot of people got pardoned by Trump. As soon as he got back into office, he pardoned all those people. The day that the country was ripped apart, whether you agree with it or not, that whole situation was extremely polarizing on both sides of the fence. Extremely polarizing. Some people were like, hey, they had every right as Americans to do what they did. No, they didn't. No, they did not. Sorry, not sorry. Okay? They did not have every right to do that. All right? That was not an organized demonstration. That was chaos. That was riots. That was insane. Now, how they got pardoned and all that, whatever. It is what it is. Okay? It is what it is. But what happened on J6 happened after these devices were planted. Is there a connection? I think that's something that they need to tell us as soon as possible. So let me get the super chat here really quick before we go on here, because in about 15 minutes, they're allegedly going to be having a press conference. Okay, but you know how they do. You know, they say, you know, we're gonna tell you guys everything at 1 p.m. and it doesn't happen until like 2. So we'll see what happens. Clearly, they just arrested this guy. They just arrested this dude. Okay. I'm driving faster. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. Hello. Thanks for all the work you do. Of course, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. But again, we have not heard anything as of yet. Right. Still waiting to hear all the confirmation on everything. And don't worry, we are going to look at it. We are going to hear what's going on very, very soon. But I'm just gonna read this to you guys. Quick trip down memory lane. Okay. Oh, thank you, Shannon, for watching all the way in Mexico. ¿Qué pasa? Okay. But he has been named. So, and I already read this in the previous video. I'm sorry for repeating this again. We're not going to read the whole doggone thing. There's some video clips we're going to look at before we go into this press conference. So let's take a look at this. They say the FBI has arrested a Virginia anarchist suspect named Brian Cole in connection with several devices laid near Capitol Hill on the eve of January 6th. So the night before January 6th, when all things went down, when those riots went down, these devices were planted. Why? And again, were they connected? I feel like they were. I feel like no matter if Trump, because I know that argument is like, Trump didn't incite violence. He didn't do that. And then other people are like, yeah, he did incite violence. I leave that conversation up to y'all. But one thing is for sure. The fact that you have devices being laid out the night before J6 and then J6 happens, I'm sorry, y'all, but that makes me wonder. That makes me have a lot of questions. It's too coincidental. You see what I'm saying? But I digress. So he has been identified, this guy, Brian Cole. Okay, he has been identified Thursday morning. The suspect has been charged with laying these devices outside the Democratic and Republican National Committee headquarters. All right. But these did not go off, which is great news. Brian Cole is a resident of Woodbridge, Virginia, and was arrested in the early hours of Thursday morning. The exact charges are not yet clear, and Cole is expected in court later today. Now, just so you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in courts today. You got the Brian Walsh murder trial going on. Okay, Anna Walsh, hopefully she gets the justice she rightfully deserves. R.I.P. You also have the Admiral Bradley testifying right now as we speak because of his connection to Pete Hegseth and the double tap catastrophe that's going on with the Venezuelan boats. Let's not forget that too. And then you have soon, later today, Brian Cole, who is allegedly the person who dropped off these devices around the Capitol the night before January 6th. This is all kinds of crazy stuff is going on today. All right. The arrest marks the first major breakthrough in the 5-year investigation that had baffled the agency and sparked a wave of conspiracy theories. Like I said before, people were going crazy out here thinking that it was like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're like, oh, see how he walks? It got to be a female. It must be Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was that whole rumor that was running around like crazy. Okay, it comes weeks after the FBI offered a $500,000 reward for leads to identify the suspect, when authorities shared previously unreleased footage of the perp stalking the streets of Washington, D.C. the night before the infamous chaos, the infamous riots. However, the arrest was reportedly not the result of a new breakthrough in the investigation, but came after FBI reviewed existing evidence it had collected in 2021 and 2022. So they went back to the drawing board, it sounds like. They went back to the drawing board and they found this guy through that stuff. Or is this one big fugazi? I don't know. But that is very interesting, right? That they said, oh, no, we know. Oh, we have the information from 2021 and 2022. We got it all right here, baby. Weird, right? It's been right there in our face this entire time. Oh, gosh, ain't this kismet? That seems weird, right? Law enforcement sources said that Brian Cole's arrest may cause embarrassment for the FBI because the suspect could have been arrested years ago if investigators had pieced together existing evidence, which is exactly what they did. Didn't they do that? Didn't they finally do all the red yarn and it all resorted to Brian Cole? At least that's what they're saying right now. Now, we all know these infamous photos. In the surveillance footage from the plot, video showed the hooded suspect setting down a backpack on South Capitol Street before putting on glasses and scanning their surroundings for witnesses and walking off. The suspect then walked to nearby DNC headquarters where a boom boom was placed at 7:45 p.m. Surveillance then showed the suspect walking to the RNC headquarters and placing a boom boom there as well at around about a half hour later, 8:16 p.m. And he was last seen on video 2 minutes later, leaving investigators baffled over their true identity. He wore a mask, gloves, a sweatshirt, glasses, Nike shoes, okay? And everybody was analyzing the hell out of this person's walk. I remember like crazy. I mean, there were videos and live videos of everybody critiquing his walk and going, that's a woman right there. You see how he walks like female that does CrossFit? It must be Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm like, come on, y'all. Yeah, people were like, yeah, this perp got a very feminine walk. No, you never know. He might have a little sachet with his walk. He might, swish with them hips. I don't know, but at the same time, it's a Brian. Okay, not a Brianna. Let's say that. Let's see what they got to say.
News, a law enforcement official is telling News Nation that the FBI has arrested a suspect connected to the pipe bombing investigation in Washington, D.C. That suspect allegedly placed pipe bombs in Washington a day before the January 6 events at the Capitol. This is the first time investigators have connected someone to this case. These bombs were placed near the offices of the Democratic and Republican National Committees. Officials deemed the bombs safe. Nobody was hurt, but the FBI said both devices could have been lethal. Joining us now on the phone, News Nation national security contributor Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, welcome to you. This case and the investigation has vexed law enforcement, and a suspect has remained elusive for about 5 years. Why has this case been so tough to solve and get someone in custody?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Marty. I think there's a couple reasons. First, the FBI actually has done a really good job of leaving essentially no stone unturned. But the problem is that the sheer leads that they had led them to absolutely nowhere, to the point that they even had to deconstruct the pipe bombs, then made a list of stores that they could have been purchased from, subpoenaed all of the records of those stores, and still came up with nothing. They confiscated 20 phones of individuals around the area, led them to nothing. And so I think, unfortunately, this person planned very much to essentially go dark and leave them with absolutely no trail.
They have not released a name, at least not what I've seen so far. The reason for that, and when might they reveal more?
Yeah, I have not seen a name released as well. I think there's a couple reasons. I think first, they want to ensure that this person or persons is processed. Also, there may be other people involved in the investigation that we don't know about, and they are looking at potentially making additional arrests. They wouldn't want to tip anyone off who might know that person. And so that might be why they're holding on the name.
The reward in this case was somewhere around $490, almost $500,000. I think actually it might have gone up to that. The significance of a reward of this magnitude in a case like this?
You know, it's interesting because we look at rewards a lot, particularly with, Osama bin Laden and other individuals. Rewards can be helpful in terms of providing tips to obtain an individual, but a lot of times I have rarely seen someone come forward with information leading to an arrest simply because of a reward.
We can see a lot of images of the suspect walking around. It was COVID time, so they were wearing a mask. Have we heard anything from law enforcement as to the timing of these pipe bombs being placed?
You see him trip? That would have been really bad if he tripped and went boom like that. You know what I mean? But look, you see this man's gait, like how he walks. You really think that this is where did people think that this was a woman walking? Real talk. Look at how it just looks like he's just walking kind of nonchalant. At least to me, it doesn't show like he's walking with intent. To me, it doesn't look like that. It looks like he's walking nonchalantly. He's like, do, 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 do. You know what I mean? I see him. Yeah, exactly, Amber. I see a man. That's a man's walk-ins. Okay. Just keep watching. He literally tripped just a second ago. Take a look. But watch him walk. He's just walking. He just has a kind of he kind of has a frumpy walk. That's all.
Heard anything from law enforcement as to the timing of these pipe
tripping
bombs
over
being placed?
Nothing.
In relation to January 6th, was it a coincidence, or have they said if it's related?
I haven't heard anything, but I do know that initially they were conducting the investigation to almost see if it was, I guess,
maybe it's because how he like bent over to like put down the bag and he didn't bend his knees. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what it was like. It's kind of zesty, that the way he's putting it down is kind of zesty. I see what some people are saying, but the walk though, come on now. That's a guy. But let's go.
Of these pipe bombs being placed in relation to January 6th, was it a coincidence, or have they said if it's related?
I haven't heard anything, but I do know that initially they were conducting the investigation to almost see if it was, I guess, a deterrence to, get people away, get their attention away, from the Capitol, and thus allowing, individuals to sort of storm the Capitol on January 6th. But they abandoned that theory pretty quickly, I think, when they realized that they were planted at both headquarters. And it's my understanding they were investigating this separately to January 6th.
Behind the scenes, Tracy, how would they be handling this suspect right now in terms of questioning and determining whether or not he acted alone?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. That is going to be the biggest issue, is them finding out whether or not this individual acted alone, and are there additional threats out there that they need to look through and mitigate. I think that is going to be issue number one for the FBI.
How about charges, potential consequences of these actions?
I mean, they're looking at, I think motive will be the big determining factor. Obviously, I'm not an attorney, but I do think motive in terms of why this person did what they did will be the biggest factor in terms of determining whether or not this is a charge of terrorism, whether or not this is a bombing charge. That's what's going to determine that is that motive.
Well, they've got a suspect in custody. We'll wait to learn more. Tracy, thank you so much.
I mean, it's pretty crazy, but yeah, like I said, they're saying that he acted alone. If he even acted alone, I don't know about all that. Okay, but he may have acted alone in the act of placing those devices, but maybe there's there's got to be some sort of online thing going on. There's more to this for sure. There's got to be more to this, but I want to show you guys, they were raiding his home. Okay, they were raiding the home that he was at. And I think this is very interesting too. Let's take a look at this. And of course, I'm waiting to see about this press conference that should be happening here very soon. So stay tuned. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe, baby. Don't forget to do that. Let's rock and roll. But this is from earlier, so I'm going to skip ahead. But they're going through his stuff. Yeah, press conference should be happening here shortly. Just a heads up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is crazy. And it's going to be the Doge. Just so you know, it's going to be the DOJ holding this conference. I'm just gonna mute that. So the DOJ is gonna be holding this press conference, and you already know, for a fact, Cash Patel is gonna be in there. I'm sure. Okay, director of the FBI. I'm sure is gonna be all up in that, being like, without the incredible leadership of President Trump, we would not have this opportunity. We would have not have been able to wrangle this evildoer, this assailant. Without him, there would be no America. So get ready for that. And I would I'm just going to side eye the hell out of Pam Bondi. I'm sorry. The DOJ, I just look at him like, okay, what's really going on here? Okay. What's really going on here? Sorry. They lost me at Epstein. They lost me at Epstein, y'all. I'm going to keep it a bean. They lost me at Epstein. But as you guys can see, I mean, they're jumping in. They're doing what they need to do. Hopefully they do have the right guy. Real talk. And hopefully he is the only guy. And if he isn't the only guy, hopefully they get them all. But I don't think that he operated alone. Just like, I'm going to say it. Just like I don't think Tyler Robinson operated alone, y'all. Sorry, I still do not think he operated alone. Now, no, we're not putting on our Candace Owens hat on. Okay, so hold on. Okay, hold on. With all due respect, I think she's on to something. I don't think she has everything correct, but I think she's on to something. But I do believe that I do believe that Tyler Robinson did not operate alone. Whether it was digitally, like through social media, through people helping him out, setting things up, so on and so forth. Same thing with this ish right here. You mean to tell me, like I said, you mean to tell me the night before, the eve of January 6th, loves, not a thing was stirring, not even an insurrectionist. A man who had quite the sachet of a woman's gait gingerly places bombs outside of the RNC and the DNC headquarters. Whilst we all were resting our weary little heads thinking of gumdrops and Santa Claus. It doesn't make sense to me, guys. He did it all by himself. The night before January 6th. Come on, y'all. Think about it. When the bombs go down on J6, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. Think about it for a second. Think about it. He did this all by himself. An anarchist isn't on some online forum saying, you know, I'm going to drop this device here and everything's going to go boom. Wait for it. I'm really talented with homemade gunpowder and pipes and kitchen timers. What? No one was helping him. He just did this all by himself. Like I said, a lot of these people, they may not physically be helping them, okay? They may not be physically helping them, but they are helping them. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah, go to this spot and then go over here. Place it here and place it there. Because tomorrow, it's just about to get crazy anyway. How would they know things aren't going to get... See, now the Candace Owens hat is starting to screw on. Damn. But we got to ride with this. Think about this for a second. How would they know that J6 was going to be J6? Think about that for a second. It just doesn't make sense. Could it be a whole group of people knew that J6 was going to be, they knew J6 was going to be the day that everything was going to be chaos. So they said, hey, why don't you plant those boom booms in these spots, bri. And while all this is going down, those things are going to go off. And we will have a full-on civil takeover of the country. Think about that. Because there's just no earthly way that this guy, I just truly believe there's no earthly way that this guy operated by himself. I just don't believe it. I just don't. Let's check out MSN now.
The biggest FBI breaks in the Bureau's recent history. MS Now has learned the identity of the suspect arrested in the January 6th pipe bombing case. We've got our full panel to break this down, but let's get right to MS Now's Carol Leonnig to start us off. Carol, what do we know about the suspect?
MS Now has reported and confirmed that Brian Cole, a young man from Woodridge, Virginia, is the suspect who was arrested this morning. When MS Now first broke this story, my colleague Ken Delanian and I earlier I don't know, I feel like all the hours run together, but it was somewhere around 8 o'clock in the morning. We didn't know the name of that person, but we have since confirmed it. And we're still now waiting to see what the FBI has learned about this person's motivations or what this person's reason was for planting these bombs that didn't detonate as it happens on January 6th, right outside the headquarters of the RNC and the DNC.
Do we have any sense right now about whether this person was on the Bureau's radar at all?
We do. Great question. What we learned last night and reported earlier this morning is that this individual was someone that had been identified not as a likely suspect, but whose information had been gathered and pulled together in this massive sort of dragnet that the FBI was engaged in from literally January 7th, 2021 until today. One of the sticky issues for the FBI, and we'll be really keen to hear the explanation for this, but one of the sticky issues is that why didn't analysts and investigators at the FBI sort of connect these dots earlier when this person's information was already in evidence the FBI had in hand, and mostly evidence it had collected in 2021 and 2022?
So, Carol, this was a huge investigation. You talk about it lasting over years. Can you give us a broader sense of how big it was, how many people were involved, how many resources were devoted to it, the kinds of evidence that they collected?
Oh my gosh, there's so many good data points on that. Hundreds of agents and analysts were pulled into this work. Two of the most interesting elements, Anna, of the pipe bomb investigation were the sort of lengths, the globe-trotting lengths of the earth that the FBI was willing to travel digitally and physically to try to track down possible suspects. One was they learned some of the components of this explosive device that didn't actually explode, and there was a battery kind of connector. The FBI then went to the effort of collecting in subpoenas, all of the credit card receipts for big box chain stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. Everyone who had purchased one of these connectors, their information was compared against all the cell phones that had been collected around the Capitol on that day and in the hours before, and tried to see a connection. Was there a connection between this connector purchase and anyone who was physically near the Capitol at this time? The second element of the investigation, also traveling the lengths of credit card receipts from here to Timbuktu, was looking at dozens of athletic shoe retailers and credit card purchases of a particular Nike shoe that the FBI determined the suspect was wearing. Again, looking at every single purchaser to try to figure out, was there a connection to anybody who bought one of these battery connectors or anybody who was physically near the Capitol at the time. A lot of data, billions and billions of little teeny bytes of data that the FBI analyzed to try to find who had done this. And
let me just say this really quick. There is so much, because while I'm playing this, I'm trying to get some information here. Press conference has not happened yet, just so you guys know. We're still waiting. You know how it is. They always say, like, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, get ready for it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it, everybody. We're doing it. And then they don't for like a half hour. And I get it. They're probably trying to get all their information together. I'm sorry, that was a joke. They're probably trying to get all their information together before they do this press conference. It's just the thing that they do. It just, so we just got to ride with it. Okay. But I do think that it's interesting, the amount of information that's flying all over X right now. Oh my God. People are trying to identify this dude so bad. They're trying so hard. Okay, here it is. We don't know who this guy is yet. They have not put out so far. I'm looking online too. I want to see if there's anything else, right? If there's any mugshot or any photos that they've leaked out on through sources, through media. Okay. So far I haven't seen anything. But X out here, y'all wilding out here. You got black dudes, random black dudes. You got random white guys that just happen to be named Brian Cole as well, just being like, yep, that's him right there. We don't know who this guy is. He could be white, he could be black, he could be Asian, he could be Indian. We don't know who this person is. Let's find out when we have the press conference. And then it'll be like, okay, somebody had it right. One of y'all had it right, but there's such a wild array of photos being out here on X that I'm like, yo, hold up. Some of y'all just picking any black guy named Brian Cole. Real talk. Now, the guy could very well be black. Okay, he could very well be black, but let's find out from the DOJ, right? Let's find out from the DOJ. Oh, son of a gun. Let's continue. See, this is when I'm like, damn, if he black, then I don't know. The next thing you know, we all gonna get deported from this country. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Let's continue. But yes, years and years and years of evidence, years and years of investigation. All right. And they finally put it all together now. 5 whole years later. But, you know, it is what it is. Let's continue.
You'll remember that in this investigation, the operating theory always was that whoever planted these devices likely was trying to create a diversion when a series of pro-Trump supporters were breaching the Capitol and marching up to it and breaking down the glass and the doors to get inside.
Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. See what I'm saying? How would this particular person, the likes of Brian Cole, know that that was going to happen the next day? How would they know? Unless there was chat forums and people being like, well, we're just going to raid the Capitol. That's what we going to do. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know, how did he know to the point where he's like, perfect opportunity. Let's drop these devices in these various areas and they could be there to incite more chaos. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, he didn't operate alone, guys. There's no way. He had other conversations with other people for sure. And they were probably all being like, yeah, go for it, man. Do it. You know what I mean? Hold on. I'm just checking this here really quick. Yep. Press conference still hasn't happened, y'all. We're waiting. We are waiting, though.
And we don't know at this point what the motivation was. So we'll see if that theory plays out or not.
There's no way that there's not a connection. I'm sorry for interrupting this over and over again, but I'm just saying there is no way on this God's beautiful green earth that there isn't a connection here. There's no way.
Well, thank you for your great reporting. We'll let you get right back to it. In the meantime, it looks like they may still be collecting evidence. These are live pictures we're seeing in Woodbridge, Virginia. I believe it's the suspect's home or property, or at least a property connected to the suspect, now identified by our team as 30-year-old Brian Cole. And I want to bring in former senior FBI official Chris O'Leary, who's an MS National Security and Intelligence Analyst, here with me as we're looking at these pictures. What could they be doing at this stage of the investigation if they have a person in custody?
Yeah, so my understanding through my contacts is this is a subject's parents' home, and he lives with them still. My understanding is the FBI waited for him to depart that residence this morning because there was concern there might be explosive components in the home. So they wanted to arrest him away from the home, which they did. And now what you're seeing is the special agent bomb technicians clearing the home to make sure it's safe of any energetic material. So then the evidence response team can go in there. And you can see on the video, they're also searching the car, which they have blocked off. And the FBI will have search warrants for all of these, be very strict about their protocols. I'm trying to find out, is there anything that will corroborate the information that they have? And on the explosive, materials, are there any precursors or components that suggest that he has done this before? They will take all of his computers and everything and exploit those. They'll all go to the lab at Quantico. One thing to note is the FBI is the lead agency in what's called TDAC, the Terrorist Explosive Device Analytics Center. And it's really just a collection of all explosive components collected from devices around the world and in the United States. And it's really just a catalog of all of it. So they will compare and contrast all of that information against their holdings.
I mean, Chris, if this turns out was evidence that they had in their possession all along and they just missed it, what kind of a black eye is it for the FBI?
Well, everybody wants results immediately, especially in something as high profile as this. It sounds like from the investigation, and I didn't work this investigation at all, that they were going through all of their analysis and trying to gather additional information but they were constantly diverted also. I mean, so there's a finite amount of resources. This is work by Washington Field Office. Washington Field Office also had the lead for January 6th. So investigators that could have been dedicated to this and solely to this were also investigating all the folks who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. On the explosive device, the FBI special agent bomb technicians who were exceptional investigators. I mean, they're a bomb squad. There's only a limited number of them in each field office. So there's not that many resources to throw at this. And, you know, investigations sometimes take time. It sounds like they pulled all the commercially available data from any cell phones, handsets that were there, any cellular analysis, going through kind of old school gumshoe investigative work, pulling, footprints and clothing manufacturers and doing all the financial assessments. But, sometimes investigations take time, and it looks like we have a successful result finally.
I do find it interesting that it took this long to finally get to this, but that doesn't mean that something corrupt happened within the investigation, but it also could mean that too. I don't know. This could very well be a full-on distraction from what's really going on in the Pentagon. Let's be real. But nonetheless, this is all very interesting. Let's not forget, you got Luigi Mangione. You got the Luigi Mangione stuff going on. You have of course, the Brian Walsh stuff. Okay. Then you have this now, right? This device, this pipe bomber individual. Like I said, there is just so many things going on. The Admiral Bradley that was involved with the double tap situation with the Venezuelan boat. That's happening right now. Okay. Which I'm sure I'll be giving you guys a report about that in just a little bit as well. Okay. With his testimony, what he had to say about everything. Like I said, there's so much going on that I could see why somebody could look at this and go, you know what? This is a distraction from what's really going on. Because let's be real, Pete Hegseth is in some serious trouble. He is having the worst week ever. The worst week ever. Because of decisions that he has made. He has done some really, really dumb things. And this isn't the first time, because there's a whole text message exchange that he had that was exposing certain things that he shouldn't have been exposing. Okay? Like, some bad stuff going on. And then, of course, he's putting all the blame on the Admiral, when in actuality, the order was made from above and they exacted that order. So now you have the Admiral who actually went and made the order out here, actually testifying right now as we speak. And Pete Hegseth is basically demanding that this Admiral resign. He's like, you should step down, Admiral Bradley. Step down right now. Crazy, right? So you got all that going on. And also, yes, that testimony is going on behind closed doors. It's not live. It's not out here for the public. They're doing it behind closed doors. So God knows what's being said right now during his testimony. But then at the same damn time, we got this assailant that's been out here living free for the last 5 years, finally getting caught. Shouldn't he get pardoned too then? But anyway, I'm joking. But pretty insane. Hold on. Let me just check something here. That video was taken down for some weird reason.
We're back with more breaking.
Nope. Let's take a look at
Sources
this.
tell ABC News.
Oops.
A Virginia man's under arrest in connection to pipe bombs placed at Republican and Democratic national committees ahead of the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Investigators have been trying to crack this case for almost 5 years, even offering a $500,000 reward. Now sources say the suspect is in custody. Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas and ABC News contributor, former FBI agent Brad Garrett, are here for more on this. Pierre, why 5 years? What was so challenging about this case?
The main thing, Diane, is that the suspected would-be bomber, if you will, left so little evidence behind. Like, they did have the bombs themselves, but they were made from materials that were easy to purchase, that could be purchased at any common convenience store or hardware store. That was an issue. But the main issue, as you can see from the surveillance footage, is that this person had a hood on. They were wearing a mask, which was not uncommon at the time because of COVID, all the concerns about COVID. They were wearing gloves, and they were just having real difficulty trying to figure out, a narrative and a connection to who might have done this. So that is one of the main things, Diane, that I'll be looking for today. What was this new evidence? How did they find this person? Was it a vehicle that was in the area? Was it through cell phone communications? That's going to be fascinating to see after, as you said, nearly a half a decade of not finding this person.
And that's the other thing, too. If it's only... If 5 years and they finally said, yeah, we just went through some text messages and we're able to put everything together, I'd be like, wait, how did it take 5 years to figure that out? Like, this has got to be a very complex breakdown. I'm going to keep it a mother-loving bean. This better be an extremely complicated breakdown of how they were able to get this guy. You got 5 years we're talking about. Or it's him making a very dumb mistake. You see what I'm saying? Like him just being absolutely sloppy. Like he was out drinking one night with friends and he's like, yeah, I was the one who did that. And I can't believe those things didn't go off. You know what I'm saying? Like it would have to be something so obvious, but so dumb to get him caught now. Because even he just said, he didn't leave nothing behind. He was wearing gloves, a mask, glasses, a hoodie. Okay, well, he did leave behind that zesty aura, though. But other than that, he left nothing behind. He left nothing behind, y'all. So again, like I said, 5 years later, what did they go back to the drawing board and say, oh wow, that text message, oh wow, came from that guy. Let's do what we did before and go back. Oh, wow. It keeps going back to this guy named Mr. Brian Cole. Then damn, he should have already been arrested then, if that was the case. So for them to catch this guy and how they explain it to us, it's got to be complicated as hell. It's got to be. Or it has to be something where he was doing something really dumb and really obvious 5 years later. You understand what I'm saying?
How do agents deal with that when you have so little evidence, at least on the surface, in a case this important?
Well, I think that here in this situation, they do what they've relied upon for so many years. They looked at thousands of hours worth of, videotapes. They did more than 1,000 interviews. They followed up on more than 600 tips. So this was a pretty massive investigation, Diane. And the key was just keeping following the leads. And as the FBI has said many times before, their memory is long. We'll see if they've got the goods.
Brad, what's the threshold for how much evidence you need to finally decide to bring charges in a case like this?
So you have to link, obviously, this suspect to the crime and to the pipe bombs. So, for example, are there any fingerprints or DNA? Once they figured out that they may be under the right guy, does that match? As they have gone back.
But here's the thing. 5 years to get him? I mean, unless he was never been arrested before, that kind of thing. I get that part. But I'm just saying, like, 5. Okay.
Backwards now, after they figured out this is maybe their guy, that has he said anything to anybody else? Diane, what happens in cases, it's happened in a number of cold cases I've worked, is that when you go back and re-interview people, it's been 5 years. Somebody that told you X may now tell you Y because they're connected to this alleged bomber some way. And it's basically perseverance and luck to a certain extent. Did somebody just happen to call in? And that's what broke this case. Maybe sometimes it's that simple, but it's all about just staying with it and turning the wheel every day until you finally get enough information saying this is the guy who did this, and here is the probable cause, because that's what the federal magistrate's going to look at as to whether you have enough to go arrest this person.
All right, Pierre Thomas, Brad Garrett, thank you both.
Breaking news as we start outnumbered right now. We are looking at Woodbridge, Virginia, and this happened just moments ago. We're going to pick up our coverage here. There were pipe bombs that were planted almost 5 years ago now outside the RNC and DNC headquarters near the U.S. Capitol complex. At the time, no one knew what that was about. Both political parties. So would that be political? Who knew at this point? Now, all these years later, it'll be 5 years next month. They have picked up a suspect in this. And the house that you see at the center of your screen, and maybe just a little bit to the right, is a car that they're also looking at. These are the federal authorities who are in that cul-de-sac in Woodbridge, Virginia, looking for evidence. And they've been coming and going from the car that we could see with stuff that they're bringing out to that sort of collection zone that they've made. Don't know yet what the evacuation order would be for the neighborhood. Haven't been able to gather that kind of information. It's worth getting, as they will. And my guest last hour, Paul Morrow, of course, former NYPD and attorney, Fox News contributor, was saying, look, they may want to talk with other people right there, but right now they're focused on this house. One of the things that we know that they may be looking at or looking for are further evidences or devices, pipe bomb making devices, materials, that sort of thing, making sure that the house is not booby-trapped. So this is a huge job, and we don't have control over this live aerial picture right now, but if and when they pull out, you'll see how big the federal agency response has been to this and law enforcement. There are many, many people there. The suspect, Brian Cole Jr., early 30s, we don't know a lot. But in the next little while, we've been told to expect the first live news conference that we will have gotten on this case in quite some time. We also know from reporting last hour with Clay Travis, who was on with me, saying that he had recently talked to the FBI director, Kash Patel, and had been told there were a couple of things that would pop in the next few days. This popped today. We're going to dig in and watch this live scene. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host, Kayleigh McEnany.
Hold on. And why does she look like an AI robot right there? But first off, second off, she said evidences. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt what she was saying, but she said, did they get more evidences? I've never heard someone do a plural of evidence, because the plural of evidence is just evidence, just so you know. But doesn't she look like I just paused it there? I'm not trying to do this girl dirty, okay? But doesn't she kind of look like an AI robot right there? You know what I mean? As you say, hi. But moving on, he just said, apparently Kash Patel said there's going to be a whole bunch of things popping off this in the next couple of days. This is just pop number one. Good golly. Good golly. Okay. So we might have a very interesting or a very busy weekend, ladies and germs. There just might be a whole lot of things popping off. He just said, yeah, I'm the king of pop. And I don't mean Michael Jackson. Get ready. We're going to pop things off. Things are going to be popping like champagne. This is going to be very interesting for sure. Oh, by the way, this screams. Have you seen the Dell CEO's wife? Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her? Have you seen her? Have you seen her at all? I'm just gonna say it. That I'm having PTSD from the Dell's wife. This reminds me of the Dell's wife, but her eyes are like this big, like the Adderall's kicking in, or it's just severe, heavy plastic surgery and Botox. You haven't seen it? I'm gonna have to look it up. Give me a second. I'll have to look it up while we're waiting. We're still waiting, guys. We're still waiting. In fact, hold on. Before we continue, let me just see. Yeah, still not protest. Press conference hasn't happened at all yet. But I'm going to pull that up. Just give me a second. It's heavy Botox or it's plastic surgery or a combination of both. That's all I'm going to say. But moving on, okay? I'm sure this report is a lovely person. I'm sure. No disrespect. It's just the pause of the the still frame right here. Moving on.
Also joining us today, Carly Shimkus, Fox and Friends first co-host, Lisa Booth, Fox News political analyst, and Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Kaylee, I come to you first as we gather more information on this. So far, again, we don't know exactly what they've gathered so far, but we know the goals are to keep that area safe, looking for booby traps, any sort of devices in the house and in the vehicle.
That's right. And Brian Cole is the name a source texted me as well, confirming the Fox News reporting we have, early 30s, as you noted. This is interesting, and it's long awaited because for years, people have been wanting details of this case. And it confounded a lot of people why we weren't getting details, because it is very difficult to evade authorities. You think about the killer of Charlie Kirk, alleged assassin Tyler Robinson, and it took just a few days. It is very rare for someone to get away for years and years and years.
Precisely.
But I think they found this guy, and I wonder if it had anything to do with his shoes. We don't yet know, but the FBI put out a memo, and they said that he had distinctive Nike Air Max Speed Turf shoes, which are black and gray with yellow Nike logos. There are fewer than 25,000 pairs of these shoes that were sold over a 3-year period. So it's these little granular details in the video they're looking at. Maybe one of these details was the breakthrough. Maybe it was a tip.
Yeah, well, and the tip was worth $500,000. That was the reward in this case. And again, we don't want to speculate on how they got to this point. But the fact about the shoes, that's a fact in the case, potentially evidence in that. Let's watch now, if we can, in the center of your screen, and we might even pull it out live. You can see where they are now going up to this house. So they've left the car at the curb. They've gone through that. And now, and they've got the dogs out. So that makes sense for them to want to make sure that there are no devices or anything there. Now, here's also, Ari, what we don't know. Is there anybody in the house? Is there anybody who may have known that this was coming? A lot that we don't know. That news conference is going to tie up so much. Your thoughts?
Well, the first thing I want to know that we don't know is what was his motive and who was he connected to, if anybody? How far does this go? How deep does this go? Is he a deranged lone attacker that tried to set off these pipe bombs and he failed because he didn't have the technical background? Or was he acting on behalf of somebody, a foreign country, a cause inside the United States? All of this is what we have to look forward to when the FBI speaks today. I presume they're going to know those facts and be able to speak to them. But as always with the shooter of President Trump, what's the motive and are they connected to anybody is essential, because that tells us if there's a lot more to it than just a crazed lone person acting violently.
You know, as we watch the scene, one of the things we also don't have right now is sound. Because of the distance, obviously, of the cameras. So, you know, if they are evacuating this neighborhood, what that would look like, because now they've surrounded this house and we're able to see this from our aerial capture of this live. So, you know, Carly, many times when we're covering breaking news like this, well, the dog is showing some activity, but again, we don't want to speculate.
Yeah, we certainly don't. It is really interesting to see this home that we're looking at right now. Woodbridge is a suburb of Washington, D.C., about 20 miles outside the city. It looks like a beautiful home. And you do not know what the political motive was here, considering the fact that these pipe bombs were placed outside both RNC and DNC headquarters. This was a huge deal at the time of this taking place. And it led to a lot of speculation in the aftermath of January 6th over whether or not this was a conspiracy. But I remember Kamala Harris at the time had to be evacuated from the location that she was in. And now we're learning that he is in his early 30s right now, which would have put him at around, mid-20s 5 years ago when this took place, an age where oftentimes you get young males who are deep into the resources or the recesses of the internet. And could that have inspired something that would just be purely anti-government in nature? We don't know, but these are the details that everybody's going to want to find out when this press conference does happen. The fact that this reward for information was up to $500,000 proves how much of a priority this case was for Kash Patel. And this is a huge win for the FBI that this is taking place right now.
Yeah, it also made points.
By the way, I don't know why. Well, first off, she's right on like, this is a big thing. This is a very, very big deal. Okay. It's a very much a big deal for the FBI, for Kash Patel and all that. And obviously he said, according to I don't know this woman's name, this anchor's name, but according to this anchor, to this reporter, she's saying things are going to be popping off over the next couple days. Okay, that there's a bunch of other things. This is just number one. So there's going to be a bunch of other things coming very, very soon. What those things are, I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find out what's going on. Maybe it's something in connection to Tyler Robinson, to Charlie Kirk's passing. Maybe it's something that's in connection to other things, other big tragedies that have happened that we've all seen in real time. Maybe, okay, that's for sure. Now, they are showing, let me pause this really quick. Press conference is popping off now. Hold on, y'all. Press conference has commenced. Let's take a listen.
Now, early this morning, Brian Cole Jr. was arrested and charged with placing the pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC on January 5th, 2021. He has been charged with violating 18 U.S.C. 844, which is use of an explosive device. This investigation is ongoing. As we speak, search warrants are being executed, and there could be more charges to come. I'm going to let our U.S. Attorney discuss that shortly. This was the work of multiple agencies working together. This morning's operation was carried out safely and successfully. We know that there are so many issues when you're issuing search warrants. Dangerous things can happen, and this was carried out safely and securely thanks to all of the people standing around me. They have worked tirelessly on this. Today's arrest happened because the Trump administration has made this case a priority. The total lack of movement on this case in our nation's capital undermined the public trust of our enforcement agencies. This cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI. The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months, sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear. There was no new tip. There was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team along with ATF, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and of course, the FBI. We are working every day to restore the public's trust. We hope that today is a significant step towards that progress. We'll share more information when we can and when it unfolds. I cannot stress enough how hard Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino have worked for months to make our nation's capital safer and to make our country safer. I'd like to introduce now Director Patel.
Are you going to give us more details about how you got this mother lover?
When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that we will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country the nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve on a case of massive public importance, as it should be. An individual who is now alleged to have placed multiple explosive devices to blow up multiple people and multiple officials, innocent civilians, is now arrested thanks to the brave men and women of the FBI and the interagency. I want to take a moment to thank the Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Capitol Police, our brave prosecutors, the Department of Justice, and our leader, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, whose relentless work on this case made this possible. As the Attorney General said, we did not discover any new information. What we did, an investigation spearheaded by the Deputy Director and the ADIC of our Washington field office, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, sifted through all the data, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do. As a result of that, we generated numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with our U.S. attorney partners, and came to this conclusion today. And that is why we were able to safely secure this individual into custody. Remember, we are dealing with an individual who is alleged to have made bombs. We cannot do this sort of takedown in haste because it endangers the lives of law enforcement. And this FBI will never allow the lives of law enforcement and our prosecutors to be put in jeopardy. This execution was flawless in terms of teamwork, resilience, and just a good old-fashioned way of police getting the job done. When you let good cops be cops, this is what happens. I'm eternally grateful to the team behind me, to the leadership at the FBI who made this possible. But I do want to highlight when I introduced the deputy, he made this case and so many others, including Summer Heat, his priority to come in here and solve it for the American people. And today, I'm proud to stand here before you and say, we solved it. He will have his day in court. The American public and the world will learn even more information through the legal process as we have committed under this Attorney General. We are the most transparent law enforcement operation in U.S. history, but we are also going to make sure accountability is delivered to its fullest extent. And that happens in the courts of law with our U.S. attorneys and our prosecutors. So we will divulge information when it is prudent and constitutionally permissible while upholding the safeguards of this case to make sure that the people that this individual intended to victimize get the accountability they deserve. And most importantly, to deliver on President Trump's promise to secure our nation's capital and the rest of the cities in this country to make sure that Americans are allowed to go out free and securely in their neighborhoods and that people around the world are allowed to visit our nation's capital. And they now have that trust thanks to the leadership of the FBI, the Washington Field Office. And I'm honored now to introduce to you Deputy Director Bongino, who spearheaded this investigation.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation.
Oh,
we've
he
been working on
exists.
for a very long time. We deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort. The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this came from. This was our internal work at the FBI. And I want to just really express my sincere gratitude to this attorney general and this president for allowing us the latitude. I spoke with Ms. Bondi very early when we, maybe day 2, and I said, we're going to get this guy. And she said, yes, you are. And we did. I want to also thank, he's not here, but Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who we deal with often as well, who could not have been more supportive. Whatever process we need, Judge Janine, Todd, and Attorney General Bondi, they were there. All you had to do, they were a phone call away. And their team was amazing. We actually never had to make that phone call because they were always responsive. Thank you, Judge, as well. You were amazing. Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him to the end of the earth. It wound up in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to thank the team. They were amazing. They never let this go. Again, Attorney General Bondi, for your incredible support. Director Patel, Judge, I know they're giving me a lot of unnecessary credit, but make no mistake, they were intimately involved in this and were there for all of those supportive mechanisms. And I deeply appreciate it. The man whose team did the work is the Assistant Director in charge of our Washington Field Office, Darren Cox. Darren's got some comments and Darren has some more details on the case he can provide.
Please.
So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
Give us details. Give us the mother-loving details.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office. Today's arrest of the alleged DC pipe bomber is a momentous day for the American public, for the FBI, for our Joint Terrorism Task Force, or the JTTF, and our partners, the U.S. Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and ATF. We've also had a large number of other federal, state, and local departments that have worked on this investigation. And last but not least, the U.S. Attorney's Office. We all worked hand in hand to solve this investigation. This has been a long week in D.C. After the terrorist attack last week, the grit and determination of the FBI and our law enforcement partners is an example to the American public of what cooperation, partnership, and selfless service can accomplish. The amount of effort the FBI and our partners devoted to identifying the pipe bomber cannot be overstated. It is the resolve and determination of our investigators that ultimately led to the identification and the arrest of this suspect. We all know pipe bombs are dangerous, not because of the potential loss of life, damage to property, or injury that they can cause, but also because they are tools that terrorize our community. Fortunately, these bombs did not explode, although they certainly could have. But make no mistake, the alleged pipe bomber did terrorize our community. Today's actions underscore the long memory and the long reach of the FBI and our partners. I know some people had given up on finding the perpetrator, but not the FBI and not our partners. We do not forget, we do not give up, and we do not relent. Though it had been nearly 5 years, our team continued to churn through massive amounts of data and tips that we used to identify this suspect. I want to thank Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino for their leadership and for providing us the resources and the personnel to reevaluate all of the data that we had. We dove into more than 3 million lines of data to come up with this suspect. Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, thank you for your support. Thank you for your passion. And thank you for your investment in this investigation. From me, on behalf of the investigators, the Washington Field Office, and all of our partners, thank you. I'd also like to thank Judge Pirro. Judge, your team and you are absolutely amazing. You're the type of prosecutors and U.S. attorney that all of the investigators across the country want to work with. They're hard-nosed and they're aggressive. Thank you for that. I'd also like to thank the American public for providing tips and leads, not just on this case, but every day on cases across the country that are being solved by law enforcement. And finally, I want to commend all of the members of the Washington Field Office, and most specifically, the investigative team. Their diligence and persistence led to this arrest today, and they are absolutely, totally dedicated not only to this case, but every case they work. So thank you, Washington Field Office. Last, I will say our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue every lead and use every resource that we have to ensure that the DC pipe bomber is brought to justice. Thank you.
You keep hearing the words partnership and team, and that's what we are. And we could not do this without our U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro. Jeanine, from day one, has worked tirelessly for our country and for our nation's capital. It's my honor to introduce my friend, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. And you have been listening to a lot of thank yous and a lot of gratitude. The reason that we're thanking each other to the extent that we are today is because we have seen in this case an incredible collaboration around the clock, in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter. We call each other, we make contact, they need a warrant, they need something, someone wants legal advice. These are the men and women who never give it up. You hear about government employees, but I don't know if you really realize what it is that they do. They are incredible. And this case is big. 4 years, 10 months, and 28 days ago, an individual placed a bomb in the vicinity of both the RNC and the DNC. And for that amount of time, that individual evaded accountability. Today, as a result of the cumulative efforts of the men and women in the FBI and the police department and the Department of Justice, we are finally able to make an arrest of an individual by the name of Brian Cole. As the Attorney General has indicated, he is arrested for transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce, as well as the attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. You know, folks, this case involved millions of pieces of data. And it is a huge win because it was like finding a needle in a haystack. So much of this evidence was very specific, but a lot of it was also very general. For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect. And make no mistake, it was this administration, it was this president who made the decision that we were going to use all of our efforts to get it done, and get it done they did. Finally, let me say this.
So just on a cap?
Today begins the formal process of accountability, where this defendant will begin his journey through the criminal justice system. And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line. Again, thank you to the incredible work of the FBI, to the Attorney General, and to our local partners as well. This is a job that I think was well done.
They didn't give much information so
Thank
far,
you.
guys.
President Trump's directive to all of us was to not only make America safe again, but DC, and to make it safe and beautiful. We could not have done that without our partnership with Mayor Bowser and Chief Smith. It is my honor to introduce Metropolitan Police Department Chief Smith.
So are they going to explain? Like, they're not saying, okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you, everyone. I am Chief Pamela Smith, Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, and FBI Director Patel for having me here today. For nearly 5 years, the agencies standing here today have worked together under the leadership of the FBI to locate our suspect who is responsible for the 2 pipe bombs that were placed around our city. MPD members assigned to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force have supported this case from the beginning. That supports include looking, reviewing, and going through countless, probably thousands of hours of CCTV footage from around the DNC and RNC headquarters, and they followed up on hundreds and thousands of leads from members of our communities. What I will say today is that Washingtonians can rest easier today knowing that the suspect responsible for this act is now in custody. This morning's arrest is yet another reminder that committing any act with the intention of harming the residents and visitors of the District of Columbia will result in your arrest. The men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, the ATF, the U.S. Capitol Police, and certainly the prosecutors at our U.S. Attorney's Office will go to the furthest length. I heard somebody say to the end of the earth, but thank God we didn't have to go to the end of the earth today, that we were able to bring this subject into custody. I want to commend the men and women of the FBI and the members of the Metropolitan Police Department and all of the agencies who are standing behind me today on a job well done. I will turn it over now to Attorney General Bondi.
We're going to take some questions. Just remember, as I said in the beginning, this is ongoing. It's very active. The search warrants are still being executed. Many charges potentially to come.
Oh,
So
finally.
just keep that in mind when
Tears.
asking your questions.
Jake, Fox News. So you said it had been nearly 5 years. We all know that. And that you said there have been no new evidence. So can you say anything about the evidence that actually did lead to this arrest? And then secondarily, you're talking about additional charges possibly. Can you say what those you might be considering, or terrorism charges, or what?
We can't discuss new charges, of course, yet, ongoing. But what I will say is this is why this was so incredibly important, more than any other case, is this is in our nation's capital where this happened. And now, thanks to the FBI, we know that this defendant was living just miles away from here in Virginia. So as to the evidence in the case, I'm going to let Director Patel take that, but it's still very active and very ongoing.
Thank you, General. And as I stated earlier, and as the General has already reiterated, our job is to provide full accountability in the court of law with Judge Pirro's team. And in order to do that, we have to preserve the chain of custody and evidentiary value. What I will say generally is that when you go through 3 million lines of information, y'all can think about the amount of cell phone data that has to be ingested and triangulated and dumped and received. You also have to think of just sheer human ingenuity. We brought in a team of experts who are the best at what they do in their specific fields to reevaluate that evidence, to dive back in, and to not come back with a no for an answer until they had found the suspect. And when you develop evidence, you get a search warrant. And when you get a search warrant, you get an address. And when you get an address, you hit the house. And that's what we did.
Sadie, Wall Street Journal.
Hi there. So what can you tell us about this person's motivations and whether they were driven by politics or for any other reason why?
Right now, it's ongoing. Again, we just executed the search warrant early this morning. It's ongoing, but America's safer, DC's safer because he's in custody.
Mary Margaret, Daily Wire.
Thank you so much. So any theory on why Kamala Harris has never mentioned coming within 20 feet of being assassinated, and any news on why her Secret Service team took so long to find this bomb at the DNC?
No, but what I will tell you is that evidence has been sitting there collecting dust. This wasn't a new tip. It wasn't some new evidence. It was the hard work of President Trump's administration, Deputy Director Bongino and Director Patel. I watched them from day one come in here and say, we are going to solve this crime. And they did, working hand in hand with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our great attorneys.
Have mercy.
Pierre, ABC.
Okay, we get it.
General Bondi, Director Patel, or Deputy Director Bongino.
Damn.
Can you describe, was there a particular moment where the evidence is coming in and it's starting to look like progress is being made? What was the moment that you knew that you were on the road to solving the case?
Dan, you want to take that?
I was smiling at you because I certainly remember the moment. Darren remembers it too. He said, "Are you sitting down?" Called me on the phone. I said, "Oh boy, why? Is this bad news?" And he said, "I think we got him." What exactly that tip was, we're going to have to pass on that for right now while obviously we're in the prologue of a long book. This is just the beginning. This is not the end of the investigation, as you all well know, having reported on these for a long time. There's interviews to be conducted. The search warrant processing scene is not even done. So we're at the early stages. So that's the only reason I hesitate to tell you what the exact tip was. But yes, that was absolutely the moment. And it was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
In general, was it forensic? Was it a phone call? Was it something about a vehicle?
We'll just leave it generally forensic evidence. Yeah, it's fair enough to say. Excuse me?
How long ago that was?
I'd rather not say because of the ongoing interview process, and I don't want to. Yeah.
I just want to add something to tell you how thorough this team was. That moment that was kind of like the aha moment, that wasn't the end. This team continued to work and work and work to get every bit of evidence that we could get. We didn't stop at that moment. And that's a testament to the fact that the team wanted every possible piece of evidence that they could gather.
One more?
Maybe one more, Kelly O'Donnell and Lisa.
Thank you so much. Have you recovered the notable sneakers? Have you done surveillance of this suspect from that aha moment to when you exercised the search warrants today? And obviously this happened on January 5th into January 6th. How should the public look at this case separate from all of the cases related to what transpired on January 6th and the president's subsequent pardons?
I'm going to let Director Patel take the evidence part. We have to be careful again. You've asked very good investigative questions, but this is ongoing, very active. But America should feel safer today. We say a pipe bomb. These are bombs. These were live, active bombs that were placed in Washington, D.C. Director.
Thank you. This shows you how much detail you and the American public have paid attention to this case. Of course, we analyzed everything that you're seeing on this poster board and information that you will see through the formal charging process and court process. But we want to let that evidence speak for itself because, again, we do not want to disrupt the accountability that we owe the American public. Yes, you heard about the cell phone tower data. Yes, you heard about, of course, we surveil individuals who we think we're going to blow up American citizens. But how and when we do it and why we do it is not something we're ever going to reveal unless the Department of Justice deems it fit at trial. So we appreciate your attention to detail and your hardcore investigative work. But you can just imagine some of those same skills are being utilized by this FBI, this Department of Justice, our partners, the ATF, and everybody across the board. And this is an interagency win for the American people.
Radar before.
Thank you all. And one more thing, this is the best birthday present I think Deputy Director Bongino could ask for today. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
She's like, we out. We done, we out. F all y'all. When we got information, we got the information. When we get it, you'll know when we get it. Bye. So okay, that was interesting. Let's just say that was interesting. That was definitely so that was a press conference that was trash. Sorry, but it was kind of trash. Okay, here's the thing. Especially right now, of all things, I'm just gonna keep it a bean with y'all, okay? Because I got nothing but love and respect for all y'all. And let me tell you this too. I got mad love and respect for the people who are trying to do everything they can to bring the bad guys in, right? Trying to arrest and get the bad guys in. Let me just explain that really quick, because I'm not going to sit here and downplay any law enforcement that's out there really, truly doing their due diligence and bringing these bad guys down. Let me just say that really quick. If they really got their guy, and if he really is the guy, and he worked alone, then so be it. But if they actually find out more, I'm hoping that they are giving us full transparency. But here's the thing. Instantly, I side-eye these guys. Like I said, like I always say, a broken clock can be right 2 times a day. Okay? Like there are people out here that think Trump does all bad things all the time, right? But then there'll be some things that he does that are, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, he did that. Okay, okay, golf clap to that. Golf clap to that. You know what I'm saying? Just like Cash Patel. Cash Patel can come off like he normally does, okay? But he might be doing the job that people think that he's not doing. So, and the same thing with Pam Bondi, and same thing with Dan Bongino. But still, though, it's totally understandable for us all to have that knee-jerk reaction of side-eyeing this trio. Why? Because of what happened with Epstein. I'm just going to keep it real. And all the other things that have happened since Epstein. Okay? The Charlie Kirk stuff, I still side-eye all that stuff too. Because let's be real, even with the Charlie Kirk situation, did they give us everything? There was a lot of holes in that one. and Chat GPT text messages and all that crap. Just remember all that, okay? Yes, and the Charlie Kirk case is an absolute mess. The Epstein stuff, an absolute mess. So instantly I'm going, nah, I don't know if I believe him 110%, but I will say, if they really did do this, I appreciate it because we need to have these assailants locked up and away from our children and our families' way, keeping us all safe out here, right? But I truly have to say, you could miss me with the nonsense on the possibility of this only being him. There's no way that he rocked this whole thing all by his lonesome. There is no way, in my personal opinion. Okay? I'm going to keep it real with y'all. So instantly, when they're like, okay, we can't give you much information. We can't give you any information at all. We can just talk about the serial number on a cap and some 9-volt batteries and on the pipe and on this, that, and the third, on the wiring and whatnot. And that's what we did. But that's it. That's all they gave us. And then he said, Dan Bongino was like, some forensic stuff. Basically, some forensic evidence. That's it. Right? So, okay. That's all we're getting. That's all we're getting from Pam Bondi. That's all we're getting from Dan Bongino. That's all we're getting from Kash Patel. So, of course, I can see why people are going to side-eye that situation. At least I am. I side-eye it a little bit because they did a press conference with nothing. It was a nothing burger. It was. They basically went up there to basically parade around saying, look at what we did. We just caught this big fish. It's this big, right? Like I said, if they are doing their due diligence and they are putting in the time to help and stop and save and protect American people, great. Go for it. But give us a little bit more than just that, especially with your track record. If the track record was a little bit more pristine, a lot more pristine, I wouldn't side-eye this situation. I'd be like, okay, bet. They still are working on it. Yes, he just got detained. Okay, they're still investigating the home right now as we speak. We get that. But for us, we all want to know how they got to that solution. We want to see proof of the mathematics that got them to the end of the equation, right? Remember in school, we would have to show proof of how we got to the sum of that particular mathematical equation, right? We had to do all the boring stuff and go, and that's why X equals 7, right? So it's the same thing with this, especially when we have them with a track record of just not fully giving us the truth. I want to see how the sausage is made. That's it. That's it. This is how we made the dinner. No, this was not ordered in. This is not takeout. And I just put it on a nice plate and threw away the takeout containers so you'd think that I cooked it. No, I actually slaved over this stove to cook this dinner for you. See all the pots? See how I did it? Here's the seasonings and all that stuff. Here's the meat and the pasta and the this, that, and the third that we used, right? So again, pause. But then again, but at the same time, that's the kind of thing that I want to see with this team. That's all. Now, here's the thing. They most likely got the guy. The question still remains. And I wish they asked this. And I wish they kept pressing for these questions by the press. Did he operate alone? And if he operated alone, did he have a crystal ball, for crying out loud? Was he able to see the future through this crystal ball? And he's like, yes, I drop it off on the day before the most notorious, most diabolical thing ever to happen, one of the wildest things to ever happen on American soil, or in the nation's capital. I'll drop them off the night before, and then they will ignite while all this chaos is going down. I don't think he operated alone, y'all. So I'm hoping that they're doing their due diligence as soon as possible. Here's the other thing that drives me nuts. Sure, Joe Biden, okay, had the FBI doing their due diligence on a bunch of different cases. Maybe there was something that they weren't able to catch. That's possible. Or maybe there were other things that there were. That's insane. Because it'd still be like in the forefront of my mind. You got a guy walking around here that's still free, breathing in this freedom air. You see what I'm saying? He's still out here walking around. Like that would be number one on my list. He would be on the most wanted list, number one on the list, being like, we need to make sure we take this guy down. Now, is that fully the incompetency of the Biden administration or the director of the FBI at that time? I don't know. But they're using it. They for damn show are using it. Then the other thing, too, I think is very interesting is when they said, hey, by the way, all of this stuff, okay? All of this stuff was in the Biden administration's face. It was all under their nose. And they didn't do nothing until we went back to square one and found the guy. That's insane. That's insane. But I'd like to know what was the stuff that they found when they went back to back to the drawing board that got the guy in the first place. Wouldn't you like to know? Like I said, I'm not sitting here saying that I don't believe them. I just want to know the proof. But seriously, this is amazing that they were able to get this guy. Amazing. And I'm hoping, because I believe there's more to this. I believe that there's more. I hope that they're getting the other guys, that they're not just stopping there. They're going after more, and they should. They need to go back and get more. There is no way that this Brian Cole Jr. fella did this all by himself. There's no way. Okay? There is no way. And it could have been somebody on the inside. Maybe it was an inside job type thing. Yes, I know the Candace Owens hat is about to get screwed on, but at the same time, could there be somebody else out there that did this, that helped from the inside? Real talk. So just something to think about. Again, amazing situation. Real talk. Amazing. Take that mother lover down. But you get the other mother lovers that are involved in this situation as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those mother lovers are people that were pardoned by Trump and they were out there at J6 that very day as well. Just saying. Just saying, y'all. Think about it. Think about it. There's a lot of people that were pardoned. A lot of them. You mean to tell me that they weren't in some sort of shape or form online talking, getting people rallied up, maybe saying, yeah, and talking on other dark web forums and saying, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. You plant these things at this place and then we're going to incite this craziness out here. The front steps of our Capitol. I'm just saying, think about it. So again, something to think about. Jesgy, yes, that's the other thing too, because there's a lot of rumors and a lot of conversation about a lot of J6ers are actually ICE agents as well. I mean, if you really think about it, that would make a lot of sense. Why, you may ask? Because they don't have no mother-loving jobs. They can't get jobs anywhere. Unless it's a place that they're like, I don't think you did anything wrong, sir, so come on over here and work for me. No. I guarantee you a good portion of those guys are J6ers. I would not be surprised, y'all. Where else are they going to get a job? McDonald's won't even hire their asses. Think about that. Think about that. So that's a conversation that a lot of people are having too, that these ICE agents are, former J6ers and possible Proud Boys and all that stuff. Would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Sorry, that is a conspiracy I will sit on. And if you want to think I'm crazy, fine. But the maths perfectly for that. All those guys don't have a job. The signing bonus is $50,000, 50, not 15, $50,000 just to sign up. And you get to go wreak havoc and do all the stuff that you believe in, right? And you get to be anonymous? Show. They're like, say less, bro. Say less, bro. Where do I sign? 50 grand? You gonna help me pay off some of these debts I got? All these student loan debts I got? Hell yeah. Come on, baby. Say less, bro. Where do I sign the John Hancock? Just saying. I'm just saying. Let me get some of these super chats here really quick. Right. What up, man? Thank you so much for the love. FBI be like, everyone stare at this light pen while I put on my sunglasses on, because we aren't explaining anything about how we thought it was a woman. You know what I mean? You know what? I think it's because how he was, like, how he walked, like, not his walk, but just how he was putting things down and bending over and stuff like that. Like, he wasn't bending from the knees. He was bending from them hips. Okay. You saw it. You saw it. You can't unsee it now. Okay. It was a stiff back. You know what I'm saying? The stiff back. Like you had a damn strip club. Okay. No. Bending from the hip, not the knees. That's weird. Okay? That's a little weird. That's weird. Gypsy, thank you so much for gifting. And Brian Rambles for gifting 2 memberships. Welcome to the family, the 2 members. Okay. Those 2 just gave you something very positive by opening, by giving you guys membership. All I ask for you guys to do is to pay it forward. Okay. Open the door for somebody, make somebody a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you do. Okay. Give somebody a compliment, you know, just don't get yourself in trouble. Just don't get in trouble giving somebody a compliment. You know what I mean? Getting slapped upside the head by your woman. You know what I mean? You know, just don't do that. That's a nice ass. Like, just thank you. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. If you want, fellas, if you want to live, and ladies, okay, if you want to live. Harmony, thank you so much for the love. So the J6ers being arrested during Biden was not hard work. Then Trump pardons them. That keeps the Capitol safe. Hypocrisy. So I agree. Like I said, it doesn't make sense that he pardoned the J6ers. But like I said, in my personal opinion, what we saw in real time was very bad. And I think that there is a level of delusionment that some people have taken into their brains by simply saying, because it doesn't, the J6 stuff, what I saw with my own 2 eyes, what we saw in real time live was bad. Okay, was really, really bad. But the world of delusionment, everyone's like, well, this doesn't fit the narrative as MAGA supporters or conservatives. This is a bad look. So they move the goalpost. No, that was just patriotism. That was patriotic. They had every right to be out there. That wasn't riots. That was just protest. That was peaceful protesting. It really wasn't. In my personal opinion, it wasn't. And then, of course, it puts out a specific type of vibe and a specific type of incentive out there to the rest of America. Not only just MAGA, to the rest of America, saying, oh, we can act this way. We can perform and behave in this type of criminal way. Now he pardoned them. I don't agree with it. They should not have been pardoned. I don't agree with it. But I know a lot of other people that believe that they should have been pardoned. I don't see it like that. They shouldn't have been where they were. The whole situation should not have gone down the way it went down. You got to remember so much that there were people scared out of their wits, out of their minds inside the buildings during this time. There were people asking for certain people's heads, literally. It was scary. It was scary and chaotic stuff. Okay? Period. So it doesn't make sense. The fact that they were able to get all of those bad guys from the Biden administration, that's a big deal. That is a big deal. But I will say, okay, I will say that they did drop the ball on this one. And if it was really simple math that they couldn't figure out, that's not good. Or something else is going on there. I'm going to stop because, see, this is when I want to pull out the Candace Owens hat and I'm not going to do that. Okay? But it does seem a little bit interesting, and I feel like they should be asking those questions. If they really are doing their due diligence, then they should be due diligencing on why was it so simple to catch this guy, but the Biden administration did not do so. That is something I would look into if I were them. Just saying. Could it be that it was an inside, really, truly an inside job by other people that were working within the Biden administration or whatever? Could it be that there was an inside job and it was all going on within the MAGA, within the Trump administration? Think about that. Think about that. That's possible too. Shoot, like we ain't seen them be sloppy before. So anything's possible. I just hope that they look things up and find out that he's not operating alone, because he did not operate alone. Okay? He did not. All right? Let us get in here. Rachel, thank you so much for the love. Thank you so much for being a member for almost a year. I appreciate it. What is this world coming to? You know, I'd like to know, man. I got questions too. This world is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And everything I feel just feels like a parody. Like I literally, I'm sitting there looking at things and I'm like, this world is straight up. This world is straight up a parody. This day and age, everything is like an episode of, I don't know, like Veep or something like that. You know, it just feels so not real, but it really is. It's just strange to me. Okay. Now, something I want to show you guys, because I told you guys before I was going to show this to you guys. This is something you can't unsee. All right. With all due respect, I'm not here. Yeah, it's like SNL, or like, it's like a political satire, just everything is just wild. Like I got the other day, one of my boys sent me a video of a person running for, I think like some seat. All right. And they're a Republican, and they went so hard on this anti-Islamic grift. It was absolutely insane. I was like, how is this even real? They're like, vote for me and I'm going to stop these Islamic terrorists R-ing your children. Aren't you tired of them R-ing your I was like, what? This is real. It is real. It is a real. I was like, is this a parody? Is this a joke? Am I watching The Daily Show? Is this from The Daily Show or some other political satire comedy show? Because where is this person coming from? And they're using that grift now. Why? Because of what happened to the National Guards, to those 2 National Guardsmen. Let's not forget that. Remember, the whole narrative now, we back in the 2000s now. Bootcut jeans, low riser jeans, NSYNC and Britney Spears rocking the airwaves. Don't forget that. We back in the 2000s, but let's not forget, we also worried about them WMDs. We're going to send troops out to the Middle East and get that oil. I mean, not the oil. We're going to get rid of those WMDs. Let's not forget that. Okay? We are literally back in the 2000s, early 2000s all over again. All over again. Except this time, the Middle East is Venezuela. And now it's narco-terrorism, which is a weird, wild word that I've never heard before in my life. until they came up with it. They said, well, sir, we have a new phrase. I think it's going to be really good for you, sir. What would that be? Narco-terrorism. That sounds ridiculous. Well, sir, I love it. Thank you, sir. That's what's happening. Narco-terrorism is now a new word. And they're saying it about Venezuelans. Let's not forget, Venezuela got a whole lot of oil, baby. And they saying all kinds of stuff about that oil. They're saying it out loud, by the way, guys. They're saying, yes, we are going to go in there because I'm going to tell you right now, we are going to invade Venezuela. Okay, hold up. Let me repeat that again so that you all can hear from the nosebleed seats. We are going to invade Venezuela. And then what's going to happen? We are going to overthrow the government there. Yeah, because they're already saying that the Venezuelan president is a damn Terry, y'all. Yeah, man. Everybody's like, get the strap. We going to Venezuela. And we're going to overthrow this government so that we can get this oil. It's all about the oil, baby. Yep. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's coming. It's wild. But they're saying that stuff in real time on camera. They're having these conversations and saying this live on like Fox and Friends and crap like that. They're saying this on shows. We're going to take it over. We're going to do this and that and the third because he's a narco-terrorist. Wildest thing I've ever heard. But it's real. It's real. We are literally living in a parody. We're living in a parody of a parody. It's wild. Okay? And it's only going to get crazier. And if we actually go into war with Venezuela, it's going to happen very soon. I have a feeling it's going to happen before the new year. Real talk. Get ready. It's going to be a very, very wild ride. You want to know what else is wild? This. So I don't mean to knock anybody, okay? I'm not trying to roast this woman. All right. This is Dell, the CEO of Dell Computers. All right. This is his wife. I don't remember her their name. It's Mike. Okay. So just Michael Dell and his wife. I don't know her name. I feel bad. But they are now announcing in this video that they're donating $6 billion into what they're now going to be calling Trump accounts, okay, to financially support 25 million babies. So 25 million babies from 2 years old and younger, all right, they are going to get $250 in like this particular account, which basically is their way of trying to ignite a saving type of mentality, right? To help those that are in need find financial freedom by the time they are an adult or old enough to have financial freedom, meaning by the time they hit 18 years old, they got some money in this, in a specific account, and maybe will inspire them to save more money as well. I'm just letting you know, this is what's going on. They did a whole press briefing about this earlier this week, and that people were very excited, or they were very excited about the whole thing. Even Ted Cruz, he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be amazing for the people of America and all the kids. It gives them an opportunity to step forward and be more. This is going to be better. They're going to learn how to save. And imagine if they start saving at 2 years old, by the time they hit 32, 35 years old, they will have $770,000 in that account. Think about that. The amount of financial freedom they'll have by that time will be amazing. Do you realize that $770,000 by the time they're 35 years old probably won't be nothing the way the economy is set up? and the way that the American dollar just keeps on dropping and how we're all having to wear 15 different hats just to keep the electricity on in our own cribs right now, you really think that by the time our children turn 35, that they're going to be able to, that they're going to be close to damn near millionaires? They're going to be, what, 75% millionaires? 3/4 millionaires? It won't matter. You're going to have to be a 5 millionaire or a 10 millionaire just to survive in this country. Just saying. But the Dell family, I mean, hey, they're trying something. I would love, in fact, I would hope that this would inspire other ridiculous zillionaires, all right, to do the same damn thing. Let's be real. Give back to the people. You got enough money. You really got enough money. And real talk, she really has had enough work done. So you just got to see this. This is quick, but you just got to see. It's just so awkward. It's a lot of work. She got a lot of work done. And I don't know if that's Botox, surgery and Botox. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's yayo. I don't know if it's the yayo that just kicked in with the Adderall. I don't know what it is, but I don't think that there's a like a yield to her eyes. Like it's either go or stop. You know, it's opened, wide open, or it's closed. That is it. There is no middle ground where it's just like, you know, little heavy eyelid, chill. You know what I mean? How can you tell if she's tired? You'll never know. You'll never know. There's no yellow light. Okay? There's no yield light. Not never. Okay? Let's just take a look. This is wild.
This is really exciting.
Absolutely. It's a very special moment. We're making a $6.25 billion investment in America's kids through our charitable funds.
Next year, every American child will be able to get an investment account powered by Invest America.
I'm sorry. AI robot. Like, yeah, she's like an older Megan. Literally, she's an older Megan. Okay? Like, everybody's talking about this. They're like, word. Word. She is awake. Okay? She is very alert.
By Invest America.
We've seen what happens when a child gets even a small financial head start. Their world expands.
The real power of these accounts is that anyone can contribute. Parents, relatives, friends, everyone can help shape a child's future.
To philanthropists, companies, community leaders, if you want to be part of something truly meaningful for our kids, for our communities, for our country, join us.
Sorry. And I think it's interesting how they quickly go here, but then they do the wide, but then they go straight back to the close-ups. Okay. It's just very AI robot. I don't know why. It's giving.
Communities, for our country, join us.
And to parents and caregivers, stay tuned and get ready to activate your child's account. Every contribution can grow over the years, just like your child.
Together, we can make possibility something every child can count on.
And that's a future worth investing in.
I'm sorry. Somebody, Jose just said, her face is Total Recall. Oh my God. Stop. Her face is Total Recall. I'm done. But that's real. That's real, just so you guys know. Okay. And I don't know. I don't know if the Dell family has kids. Okay. I don't know. I didn't deep dive into it, but it's very but you can see why everybody's reacting, because it's very off-putting. You know what I mean? It's very like, whoa, you know? I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You know, is it Botox? Is it not Botox? Is it a brow lift or something, or eyelid lift, whatever I don't know the names of the things, but you get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Was it just too much stuff or something else? I don't know what it is, but everybody's reacting to that. Yeah, she don't never sleep, bro. Okay, she don't never sleep. Like I said, there is no yield light. You know what I mean? There's no yellow light. It's just red. It's just red or green. That's it. There's no slow down. Just feels like that, right? But one thing I will say, okay, what they're trying to do, I think could be cool. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what comes from this whole situation. Them giving kids opportunities to get, have money to start saving, etc. Learning the value of the dollar in the very, very beginning of them growing up, I think is really a good thing, because there's a lot of people that don't understand money. Okay? There's a lot of people that don't understand money, real talk. So I see that as a benefit in some aspects, right? But like I said, it'd be nice to see other billionaires, okay, trillionaires or gazillionaires actually contribute as well, right? But I digress, guys. I digress. Oh, dear Lord. Angel in Disguise, thank you so much for the love. Love to the mods and to the chat, and of course to me. Thank you so much. But yes, shout out to all you guys. Shout out to the mods, okay, for always holding it down, being incredible as always. But yeah, guys, some very interesting. That was a very interesting press conference. What say you guys on it? Do you think it's, solid? Was it something that was that good enough for you? Do you think that it should have been more with this press conference or no? Let me know. Comment down below, of course. But of course, if there's more information, if there's more updates, I'll be talking to you guys about it, and I'll let you guys know what's going on very, very soon. But your man is hungry as hell, so I'm going to end the show right here. All right, that's the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Don't worry, if there's new updates, we'll be back on to talk about all of that and then some, okay? Trust and believe. So please do me a favor, hit that like button down below, crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. Hit that subscribe button here on my main channel, right here on YouTube. Go over to my second channel, The Pascal Show, Clips, and Pascal Raw. Subscribe to those channels. Hit that notification bell, set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, all right? Hit that join button down below, become a member, support the channel if you can. Check out my Patreon, and of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. All right, guys, it is time to get going. I'll be talking to you guys very, very soon. I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of other mucky muck going on, so stay tuned. All right? Talk to you guys soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.